Hello, everyone. Welcome to this short workshop by Panos Kiro from Greece, living in The Hague, on innovation and impact. It's the first time we do a little workshop like this. It was an idea of Panos himself, who actually joined the Startup Buddy team, 5 weeks ago. He's helping us very much improve our platform. I think Panos and me met first time here online, I guess, October last year. And since then, we have been in close contact. He will be sharing how he helps a company like the Startup Buddy to improve our usability. He will share about a framework that he has developed himself called the ESPR framework that helps companies like ours think in a different way on how to connect strategy to the product that we bring to the market on a day-to-day basis. And he will share about a bootcamp that he has set up and that you can join in the coming weeks through either the Startup Buddy or with him directly. There will be plenty of space for asking questions at the end. I'll be asking him some questions too. If you have anything during the session that you want to ask him, please save it a little bit by putting the questions either in the Q&A or in the chat function here on Airmeet. And with that, Panos, I want to give the floor to you.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you, Robin, for this. We've been talking a lot about innovation and impact in our talks when we're working together lately. And this is something that is both my passion and something that it drives me to go on. I love working in projects like yours. And part of these conversations, we realized that this is information that can be useful to many entrepreneurs, projects, and teams. So here we are trying to, for this information, let's say, and see how our process is being built. So let's start already. As Robin said, I'm Panos. Right now, I'm working as a freelance innovator and impact designer. So I'm helping companies and projects to bring new ideas to life, from vision to screens. And today, I will share my thoughts on innovation and impact, and I will bring a small twist in it with a human-centric approach. So let's go into that. For the people that they know me, you know that I love mythology. Being Greek also, it is part of my culture, and it's something that taught me a lot. So the story that comes into my head when we speak about innovation and impact is the story of Prometheus. So Prometheus, when Zeus killed the Titans and he started ruling over the world, he asked Prometheus, one of the Titans that survived, and his brother to go back to Earth and create living beings so he can rule over them. So Prometheus and his brother, they started building human beings out of clay, out of material, and then eventually they had a bag of gifts. While Prometheus was busy building humans, his brother started giving away all the gifts, like claws, fur coats, teeth that will help these animals survive through the roughness of the world, right? By the time that Prometheus was done building humans, all the gifts were given away. So what happened is he went back to Zeus and said, like, hey, we humans, they will not be able to survive, so we need something for them. Zeus rejected his idea of providing an extra gift for the humans. So what he did is he stole fire and he brought it back to humanity. He gave innovation to humanity. He gave them the ability to create their own gifts, in a way. In the process of doing that, though, that was not a great happy ending for him. Because in the process of doing that, he taught humans another lesson. He asked humans, when they're doing sacrifices for the god, to not waste the good parts so they can keep the meat, and taught them how they can burn in the fire that he stole from the gods the bones and trick them to believe that is the proper sacrifice. Zeus figured that out, and he punished him by chaining him into a rock, and every day an eagle was coming and eating his liver. That was an internal punishment for the greater lesson that in humanity. And actually, that was the first human-centric lesson that it was provided. So going through that story, what I get out of it is that innovation is a human factor. Innovation is the power that we have inside of us to create our own gifts, to create gifts for the world, and actually create tools that will help us not only survive, but have an impact to what we're doing around us. So let's see how all this connects to innovation and impact. And let's go immediately to the first elephant in the room. What is innovation? I think innovation is a word that has been thrown around for quite some time. Anything that has to do with entrepreneurship, we hear the word coming up as a must-have. Companies must innovate or die. Things like that are coming up all the time. But what is actually innovation? Because the definition and the term of innovation is that we introduce a different solution to an old problem, and this can happen to any fields that humans can introduce change. So here's my big question: why, when we speak about innovation, we think of technology? Why technology is so connected to innovation? It is in a way, but technology is only a small part of of the whole process of innovation. Technology is a tool that helps us reach further, or it's a tool that helps us solve another problem in a new way. But there are many ways that innovation can be applied, many fields that innovation can be applied to. So some of the main fields that innovation can be applied is, as we said, tools, services, as we do right now with the startup body. It can be even processes, how things are being formed, how things are being progressed. It can be distribution, from how you present yourself, what channels are you approaching. It can be even a vision, like new ideas. Earth is round, for example. A few hundred years ago, that was an innovative idea. Knowledge, like new theories that they're coming up from science. For example, Einstein's theory of relativity. Also, this can go down to more human factors like relationships, and this can be from the structure of the company to relationships of a group of people. Even two personal relationships can be innovative. And to be honest, it goes down to the individual. So people can reinvent themselves, and innovation is something that can happen also in a personal level. A great example of the biggest innovator artist that was living until recently, it's David Bowie. He kept on reinventing himself constantly. But the truth about innovation is kind of harsh. So actually, the truth is that 95% of projects fail. And innovation is something that we are all doing in a daily basis. We're all reinventing ourselves. We're all trying to find new ways to communicate. We're all living in a world that is keep on innovating constantly. So why innovation is so difficult to be applied when we're coming down to projects? The biggest problems that big CEOs and leaders in the industry are facing about innovation, and what they're placing as the big three groups of problems, is first of all resources, and that can be from financial resources to access to resources, or even work capacity. So everybody's too busy, so we don't have time to innovate. It can be skills, from practical skills to using new technologies and new tools to actually the ability to generate new ideas. And the last one is culture, both at accepting innovation as a change and the fostering of innovation. So allowing people to feel safe to make mistakes, allow people to feel safe to express their opinions, and allow people to to be part of the bigger thinking of an organization. So my big outcome from these issues is that innovation capacity, which is how capable is an organization or a group of people to innovate, is clearly a human capacity issue. So the more capacity we have as humans, the more capacity we have to innovate. So this is how we're going to impact, right? So impact is the second elephant in the room, and impact is something that is trending right now. A lot of people start to be more aware. New audiences appear that they're a lot more aware about what is happening around us. And also the employees are also becoming more aware that the impact of brands, about the impact that the work has and the impact their life has, not only to themselves, but to the environment around them. So what is impact? The terminology about impact is the social and economic environmental effects or consequences of changes. Okay, I'll be honest, this is confusing or very abstract. Even it's quite broad. So what does this mean? Why we should care, and how can we control that? So to understand impact, you have to understand first that we are all part of a big system. So as individuals, we belong into different groups. And even that, within different groups, we belong to different organizations, different communities, and eventually to the whole world as a society. So the idea of impact is that changes in the system, right? Changes in the system where we all belong create impact. So it's not a matter if we create impact, the matter is what type of impact are we creating? And the different three big groupings of impact, of course, this can be broken down to infinite number of types of impact that you can create in those systems, because they're quite complex, quite big, and quite unique, a lot of them, the more you go down to the individual level. So the three big groupings of impact that you can create, it can be social, anything that has to do with the world around us. For example, equality, equal opportunities, allowing people to have a voice, common participation, and so forth. It can be environmental, anything that has to do with our environment around us, from animals to ecological problems, and so forth. And of course, the impact is economic. Most of the companies until now, they were focusing only on the aspect of the economic impact. And we start to see that this is not working anymore. There is much more that is happening around us, because again, we are part of a bigger system, and this system can be affected both ways. So an individual can create an impact that can go all the way up to the society, and the society can affect an individual. So at the end of the day, our impact is represented by our values as people, our values as groups, our values as organizations, and our values as society. And this is what represents impact. This is what reflects our impact to the world, or this is what should reflect our impact to the world. But again, this sounds a bit far away. How and why we should care about impact so much? Why it becomes so important right now? I will give you two main reasons for those that, okay, maybe not everybody cares about the greater well-being. This is a nice romantic idea, but we have more practical issues, like we don't have the resources, impact is complicated, we cannot measure it, the feedback back to us is very small. But there are two important reasons. One is, as I said, audiences changed, and also employees changed too. People that they feel more motivated with the work that they're doing and more aligned with the values of an organization, they perform better. So the lower that this alignment is, the lower the performance is. Plus, 77% of consumers buy brands that their values align with. So we see that there is a very big shift in the awareness that exists in the whole society, and that starts to impact the community, the organizations, and even goes down to the individual level. So simply put, thinking about impact and including impact into your processes can create changes into different points in this whole system that we all belong to. And most importantly, by doing that, we aim to have higher productivity and because we increase the innovation capacity. By doing changes that they affect the greater good, we affect the human factor, which we said that it's the same as the innovation capacity. So the second thing is profits. If the audiences, they don't feel aligned with your values, if your employees, they feel aligned with the values of your company and the organization, we clearly see that there is a drop in productivity and the profits that we're going to have. So impact becomes a very important thing. And at the end of the day, impact is human value. And we see that this becomes very important because funding in the last few quarters, in general, in a global level for startups and scale-ups, starting falling. We see companies that they have problems like Google and Facebook having big layoffs and reporting problems in their productivity and trying to find new ways to solve them. Actually, for example, the Google CEO, he gave the question back to the people inside Google. How can we make you be more productive? So we see that at the end of the day, impact equals human value. Also, there is a rise of a lot of fundings and VC capitals that they're focusing specifically on companies that they have impact. And for that, I would like Robin back to the stage for a second, because Robin is also with the Startup Buddy. They have also a second initiative. It's called the Zero Emissions Fund, which is exactly that. Can you tell us a bit about this perspective, Robin?
Yeah, of course. So the Zero Emissions Fund is a new fund based out of Singapore, where the Startup Buddy is based as well. We're setting up a new early stage startup fund for companies that work on decarbonization of the APEC region economy. So APEC region, for those who are not from there, is basically Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. What we have seen in the past couple of years, I'm doing this with 2 other partners, is that there's obviously a lot of attention for climate change and the solutions that we need to come up with to reverse climate change. But they are all very much geared towards developed Western economies. The most famous examples, for example, Tesla cars, which are great if you live in a country with stable electricity grids, with great roads, where the internet always works, so you can use your road navigation, etc. Unfortunately, all of those criteria are not available in most countries around Southeast Asia. So we are a fund that is looking to support new startups that come up with solutions that will help mitigate climate change applicable for the region that we are in.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Robin, but especially like the previous quarter of 2022, there was an increase up to 20% into the companies that they actually had clear impact part of their business plan. So while the funding globally fell, the funding towards companies that they have impact increased by 20%.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it depends, of course, on what your values are, as you were putting it in your presentation. We obviously, as founders of the Zero Emissions Fund, think that the future is for companies that look at their business from a wider perspective than only monetary return, which has kind of been the main strategy for a lot of businesses in the past, let's say, past 100 years. but we're getting more and more aware that there's also something called all the externalities of the company, like pollution, social impact, that more and more people feel need to be included in the production process of whatever we do. So it doesn't surprise me at all that there's more money and attention going towards that.
Yeah. So the next question after that, because that was a great opening for my next slide, Robin, goes to how are we doing this? Right? How do we plan about impact? How do we innovate thinking about impact and keeping a more human-centric approach to that? We have seen companies that they're focused on design thinking, they have up to 200% return on investment after 5 years. So we know that the human-centric approach is something that is bringing results back. So let's see how we can do this. In the past couple of years, in the last 5 years or so, I came in contact with impact thinking in my previous company, and since then I started being more, let's say, obsessed a bit about it. I started developing my own framework, and I was thinking how I can combine it back to my specialty, which is design thinking. So the tools that we have as humans, and we declared with the story of Prometheus that being human is also being part of what innovation is. The human factor is innovation. So as humans, we have different tools that we can approach problems or different ideas. In times we had philosophy that grew to critical thinking, trying to think logically of solutions. And nowadays we have the thing that is called design thinking, which brought a great innovation inside the critical thinking, which was empathy, connection to the human factor. And now I'm presenting you the Espr method, which is thinking about the whole system, right? So Espr is a human-centric way to group information and problems or ideas. It's a framework that will help you map, understand, predict, and make choices so you can increase your impact, and actually it will help you see your environment so you can innovate more, so you can understand what changes to apply where, so you can provide new solutions to your old problems. So what is ESPR? ESPR stands for Environment, Seed, Path, Reward. These are 4 groupings of information that any problem we need to have for any problem so we can make informed decisions, right? So this works as kind of information architecture. And how it's been used is we're using it to create awareness. For example, with the startup body, we had an analysis to see how is the environment around the startup body, what is the possibilities that exist around startup body, and where should we head with the design. The second part is empathy, and this comes from design thinking, is connecting to your audience, connecting to the people that you're going to affect with your change. The third part is going to help us with forecasting. Having a clear map, putting ideas inside that map or new elements inside that map will show us the dynamics that they're created with the change that we want to apply. And of course, that forecasting will help us predict and make decisions, right? So let's go and see how it works with an example. And I will bring back Prometheus and the story of Prometheus, right? At the beginning, there were the 12 Greek gods after they had their fights with their titans. And in that story, what happens is we have the titan Prometheus, who is asked to create life in Earth. And he creates humans and animals with his brothers. But the problem starts with the lack of resources. So all the gifts went to the animals, but not to humans. So when we're looking at the environment, in the environment, we're just scanning our system. And not only we scan our system, we start to form it. So we are creating a scope for our system, right? In this case is the 12 gods, is Prometheus, the humans, and the animals. Let's see how that goes with the next stage, which is the seed. So the seed here for Prometheus wanted to help humans survive in Earth, right? Zeus wanted living beings. Prometheus created those living beings, but humans, they were less equipped than the other animals. So Prometheus wanted to help them. And because humans had to survive against gods, nature, and everything else in the wild, right? But there were no more gifts. So the seed of ESPR is actually the insights that will grow to be actions attached with a motivation. So it's not only what the insights that we have, but they're insights that they can grow to actions and they have a clear motivation behind. And not only that, but that motivation should align with the people that it affects. So again, we have the 12 gods. Prometheus was tasked to create life. He created humans and the animals. The animals got all the gifts. So Prometheus was worried that humans cannot survive. So he has a problem. And he starts thinking of how I can get the reward that I want. Oh my God. Sorry, I pressed too much. So he was thinking, the reward that I want from this system is that I want humanity to survive. So how can I actually do that? What if instead of trying to protect them every day, being there and fighting the animals and the wild and the storms and whatever things that were coming into the gods' heads, what if I give them the ability to make tools? And this is actually how we start thinking about the reward and the impact that we want to create, right? We have our system, which is the environment. We have our motivations that they can grow into actions, and they are attached to with an empathy to the audiences that the change will be applied to. And then we have to set up some goals, and we have to have a clear vision of where we're going and what kind of impact we want to create, right? So Prometheus was a clever guy. He went back and he started scanning the environment. And if you see in the environment now, we have a fire. So he realized that gods, they have this tool that is called fire. And if he steals the fire and gives it back to humans, they will be able to create their own tools. So this is actually what he started doing. Or he actually did. He stole the fire from the gods. He brought it to humans and he taught them how to use it, how to build their own tools, how to fight the animals, how to fight the cold, how to fight the famine, right? But this came at a cost. Every time that we're taking a path, every time that we're deciding to take actions, these actions, they have a cost, right? And in this case, his cost was to be punished by Zeus, until he was freed by Hercules, by the way. So actually, that is the actions and cost to grow our seed into a reward, into the reward that we want. And keeping all that in mind, looking back into our system on how ESPR functions, this is what it does. When we have a problem or an idea, we map the environment of an idea. We go to a point where we have to understand and empathize to where we're going to apply these changes and in what level in the system these changes will be applied, what we expect from those changes, and what path we're going to take. The funniest thing about ESPR is that so this is the information that we need to give to other people to understand a story, to be able for themselves to make informed decisions inside that system. Most of the times where we're in contact with our colleagues or even we're dealing with our own things, we are missing the bigger picture. And I think this is something that we've been talking with Robin a lot lately about how easy it is when you're alone or we're with your team and you have these constant problems that you have to fight, these animals, the storms, the snow that is coming towards your place constantly, you're missing the bigger picture. And these tools like ESPR, for example, can help companies, help organizations, help projects keep a better perspective and more open perspective, and be able to take control over that chaos, be able to take control in bigger systems than just the organization, and be able to predict, understand, and innovate inside the systems that they are existing. ESPR is something that can be used, for example, in many layers in a company. It can be used as a brainstorming tool. It can be used as a scanning and mapping tool for businesses and projects. It can be used even as a communication tool because ESPR is pretty much based on a storytelling template. So these are the informations that our people need in a story to understand it. And this was my small presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Please, if you have questions, please be free to ask. Right now, I'm working with the Startup Buddy, but I'm looking for new projects. So if you have any idea about those new projects, about people that they will be open to something like ESPR, I would love to try it out. Plus, in the upcoming weeks, I'm planning this bootcamp that Robin said. In the bootcamp, we're going to go through how the ESPR functions, and we're going to work on individual problems. So you can bring your own problem or own ideas that we will work through the bootcamp. So, Robin.
Thank you very much, Panos, for that very interesting presentation and giving us an overview of your ESPR framework and what you do on a day-to-day basis. I'm looking at the time and we ran a little bit over. So what I like to do is end the plenary session that we're having right now. When we do that, everyone who is here, you can talk to Panos one-to-one at one of the tables that you will see in the lounge, which I think is more fun than for me translating any questions that you might still have over the chat here on the screen. So, Panos, thanks again, of course, first of all, for the work that you do for us. And secondly, for the presentation that you just did for today. Everybody who joined us, thank you for joining. Please let us know if you liked this session so that we can consider doing more of these, and get in touch if there's anything else that you would like to know. So thank you very much for now.
Thank you, everybody.